All right, so today we're starting our YouTube channel, Benny and Kenny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is going to be our first video, and we're going to kick off a Mark 39 build with this video. And I'm Kenny. This is Benny. We got into 3D printing about a year ago with an Ender 3 that we got at Micro Center on a crazy deal. Had a lot of fun with that. And we started looking at things that we wanted to 3D print. And the first thing we wanted to 3D print, we found out, was this, right?
Yeah.
Right. And what is this?
A cap helmet.
Yeah, our Captain America helmet, because Ben is a big fan of Captain America. So we'll just throw that on so you can see how it fits. Right?
Yeah.
And so we obviously had to scale that down. That file is available on Thingiverse, actually. I had to do some pretty interesting cuts to get that onto the Ender 3 bed, which is what led us to eventually, well, just about a month ago, upgrade to a Neptune Elegoo Neptune 4 Plus is what we have now, right?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. And so now we've been running that, and we started getting into the Marvel stuff. So you can see we've got some Spider-Man helmets over there. You want to take that off?
Yeah.
Spider-Man helmets over there. We've got some Iron Man helmets over here. We did a couple of different scaling versions. That's for his little brother. That one was supposed to go to me. We'll talk about some changes that are going to happen there. Did some fun Guardians of the Galaxy blaster, right? Again, another, I think that one was on printables maybe, another free file. And then you can see we've gotten into some of the larger Lego figures. Probably not supposed to show you my back on a video. But so anyways, now we're going to launch a Mark 39 build. And the file is from Do3D. It's a free file. And I got onto Frankly Built's channel. And Frank does a full series on the Mark 39 build. And so we're going to do one as well. Ours is going to be a little bit different because a lot of things have changed since he did his. We're going to talk about scaling a little bit, but I'm going to throw a really interesting like bang out at you. So, right, the bang, right? The bang is Frank has a 30-inch waist, he said, on his video. And he ran his Mark 39, same file out of Do3D. It's a free file. He ran his at 100% scaling. He had to adjust his thighs a little bit and some other things. But he's a 30-inch waist. As you can see, I am not a 30-inch waist. So then you get into the biggest issue with 3D printing, which is scaling. Right? Scaling. And so, okay, Kenny, how are you going to scale this thing, right? So I've got a weird plan and kind of personal challenge. So if this works, I'm going to have to throw a huge thank you out to Frank. But my thought is I'm actually going to go from 240 pounds, where I'm at right now. I'm going to try to get to about 185, 180. We'll see where that puts me at a waist. I'm thinking that can take me down to maybe like a 32. I've actually done it before, so we're going to try it again. And this suit takes a while, right? All these prints, they take a while, don't they? Yeah, some of these prints take all day. So we're going to print out pieces of it. We'll share our progress as we go on. We'll talk about the software we use. We'll talk about the slicing. We'll talk about orientation. If you have questions about orientation, put it down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer those questions. We're going to talk about the programs. So right now we're using Orca Slicer. Orca can actually do a lot of things that Frank was actually trying to find a couple different programs. Like I think there was one called Slicer. He used a little bit of Orca. I think he used Mesh Mixer. I use Orca and Cura. So I use Orca. Orca can now stack pieces together, so I can build up the whole arm, and I'll show that in another video in the future. I'll take some screenshots of how we build out something just to see the orientation. Orca also has some really nice things where you can say lay on face, and you can pick which face it lays on, which helps you with your orientation. So I do all of my orientation in Orca. What do you need?
Dad, you forgot to tell them that was the first Lego mitten.
It is, yeah. That was our first Lego guy that we did. And actually, this guy right here, that was all done on the Ender 3. So you can see how big he is. That was actually parted out and done on the Ender 3. So the Ender 3 is actually a really good printer. It just has a tough time with, again, like if you get into Ben's Captain America helmet, I just cut it across this and then cut it across this and kind of weld it back together, and I wasn't very good at it, but we're learning. Whereas now we've got the 4 Plus, and it can do, you know, full faceplate. Some of these pieces are pretty large. This isn't processed yet. I'm actually going to switch to a different Mark 39, but you know that was printed kind of like that, and so we've got a lot more space to work with. Right? You want to try that on? Okay, so we'll go through the software we're going to use. We'll go through orientation again. I know there's a lot of questions on that. I'll talk about settings. You can put those on there though, but this should be a lot of fun. You can watch us go through this process. Hopefully watch me lose about 50, 60 pounds while we're doing it. Wish us luck, right? We'll keep posting links. Again, if you haven't seen Frank's builds, you got to go over there and check him out. Dude is an absolute stud. He's been doing this a long time. He took like 2, 3, 4 years maybe to put together his Mark 39, but he's got a lot of other things going on. This is our project. This is our main project. We're going to do some small prints and stuff for him and his brother on the side, on the Ender 3 probably. But the Neptune 4 Plus is going to basically be going towards parts like this almost entirely. So right now I've got a mock-up helmet that I did for sizing that's off the printer, and I've got basically one arm done. But I'll get into that when we start showing some of the other videos, the fitment and pieces and stuff like that. Hopefully over the next week or so. I really want to finish out maybe both arms and probably the backpack piece. Again, I'm going to try to do pieces that I could actually fit on my body as I'm losing the weight, because I know the waist, as Frank said, fits like he's a 30. Again, I'm not. I'm about a 39 right now. But I'm thinking like the chest is pretty big, the backpack's pretty big, and obviously the arms, I already know it can fit me. So we'll scale all those, or we'll run all those at 100% scale and toss them on. You can see this right here. This guy's running at 100% scale. So we'll run all those at 100% scale. We'll toss them on. We'll get into the legs and stuff like that. But the most fun comes when you can actually start wearing this stuff, right? I'm sure we'll hit some snags along the way. But again, Frank gave a lot of tips. I would go watch his entire series if you're going to build this suit. Hopefully we can add those tips. Plus, again, his posts are, I can't remember, 4 to 6 years old. So we'll have a little bit of different updates on the slicing software and some of the stuff that we've used there. And then honestly, he actually did some physical cutting of parts after the fact. Specifically, I'm thinking about like a bottom of his shin piece that he physically cut, some of the arm up here, and the back of, I'll show you when we get the parts, but the back of the arm hole he had to cut out. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to cut those in like Orca before we even print them. And that'll do two things. One, it'll save us material based on some things he learned. But two, it'll actually make it easier to print, because the orientation, when you print a U, let's say, that's a lot easier printing a U like this than it is to print a circle, just based upon the structure and everything of those parts. So we're going to give this a shot, right?
Yeah.
Get into a Mark 39. And maybe along the way also we'll do some stuff for him, show off some parts. You said you wanted an arm, right?
Yeah.
He wants an arm with a repulsor in it. So we'll do that as well. But just right off the bat, I'm gonna go over it again. We are doing the Mark 39 Iron Man. It is on do3d.com. It is a free file, full body suit. They say it's scaled for a guy that's about 6 feet tall. And again, I'll go back to that 30-inch waist, which is kind of that's the challenge part of it there. Helmet fits me. I'm pretty a medium-sized head. I'm maybe a little bit chubby in the face, and that will come down as well. But we are going to switch out the helmet. So one of the things, I started printing this right off the bat because it's really fun to print a helmet. That might be the first place you go. That's great. But there are some other helmets out there that are a little bit better. I'll put the link for the one that we're going to go to down in the description. There's actually one that breaks it apart into more parts. This is a 3-piece helmet. And there's actually one that pulls this detail out. It pulls the back detail out. And it moves these sides off to make it a little bit easier to print, a little bit easier to paint when you're going with different pieces. This is obviously not the color scheme we're going with. This is just the filament that I had. But then also the one that I'm going to link down has a lot of options for automating the faceplate, right, and putting lights in it and stuff like that. So this one is not really meant to automate. It's a magnetic setup. I'll show you this one because it's a little bit further along in processing. But it's a magnetic setup where there's magnets inside of here. There's magnets inside of this piece that I painted over so you can't really see them, but it kind of goes together by sliding this back piece on, putting this one on top of your head, and then putting this one on there. And I'm thinking eventually if we wear this suit, I don't want to be pulling this face piece off and carrying it around. I'd rather have one where I can press a button and that face piece goes up. So we're going to switch to that helmet. Again, I'll link it down below in the description. And then we will go through the build of that helmet, and we'll go through the automation of that helmet. Putting the servos in it, putting the lights in to the eyes, all that kind of stuff. So stick with us, hit the subscribe button so you can see when stuff comes out, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to Kenny and Benny. Say goodbye.